investing in dystopian patents, letting AI fill the library, investing in military AI, and making profit and not paying a cent to artists. Can you guess what company I'm talking about? If you guessed every single one, then you'd be correct, but in this case, let's talk about Spotify.
Even if you are way too cool to listen to the top 10 artists on Spotify, they still get most of your money.
Huh? How big of a song do you have to make like reasonable royalties off of streaming?
You have to be Drake.
Spotify will reportedly change how artists are paid starting in 2024. A new threshold of minimum annual streams, so yearly, that a track must reach before it generates royalties.
Because the music industry is going through massive changes as artists, labels, and distributors grapple with how AI is going to impact their future.
That is an ongoing debate, but I think the more important one is the output of that training. We want it to be really new IP, not something that's drafting off someone else's name and likeness. When it gets too close, where it's confusingly similar, what it is, that's kind of where I draw the line.
In this video, I'm going to show you how I made more than $3,000 by uploading AI-created music on Spotify and YouTube.
The second big change we actually announced already 2 weeks ago, but we're rolling it out to more people, is what we call AI DJ. One of the big things for me is you have to live in the future. And for me, the future is always the young people. What are they doing in various cultures?
Shocking revelation that Spotify is, let's say, allegedly, supposedly evil. Yes, I know, it's very shocking. A big company just maybe being shady. Truly amazing, earth-shattering news. But despite it being fairly common occurrence, I do want to get into some of the shady, quote-unquote, allegations and also potentially evil practices they engage in that are not necessarily allegations as much as they are just provably true, mathematically true. Because I think they are quite interesting. And hey, who doesn't love Spotify? No better place to start than money. Reportedly in 2023, Spotify made about £56 million, a pretty small change, I assure you. But according to Damon Grugowski, I'm so sorry if I butchered that name, none of that £56 million went to the smaller artists, or anyone else for that matter, aside from the upper echelon of Spotify, I'd imagine. Which is not inherently a smoking gun or a huge problem per se. It is amoral, it's wrong, but companies always screw over the people under it, so this is common. But the salt in the wound is the decision which Spotify made at the same time of this happening. Spotify stated that in 2024, they will stop paying anything at all, really, for music tracks that have under 1,000 streams across the year. And I mean, even before all of that, payment was not really good. As stated by the 2023 wrap, smaller artists only ever got paid essentially about 0.003 cents a stream. This is based roughly on Spotify's own reported money it gave artists, just mathematically, divisions and all that, math, blah, blah, blah. So with that, we can assume that regardless of the situation or scenario, Spotify likes screwing over artists. Now, back to the implementation that Spotify mentioned they would do. It's been done. It's 2024, and as far as I understand, they've done it. It's been implemented. So if you're an artist that gets less than 1,000 streams across the year, you don't get paid. You do still technically receive royalties. However, the royalties will go upwards, so to speak, towards bigger artists at the top. So regardless of the situation or scenario, small artists are just seemingly getting fucked across the board. Now, how about a joke? Usually, you pay the songwriter, performer, and composer, all individually. So, what about comedians? Well, despite them being technical writers and performers, they only ever get paid once. And if they dare to ask for more, they run into, let's say, issues with Spotify. That's what happened to a few comedians on Spotify who, just were requesting a small little bit of extra breadcrumbs from their lord Spotify. And now granted, they were small comedians, such as Jim Gaffigan, John Mulaney, Kyle Kinane, and Kevin Hart, and several others. All small artists, as you can imagine. All they were asking for was to get more royalties from Spotify, just to be paid for their craft. But, as you do, how do you think Spotify responded? Well, take a guess. Pick an option. Option A. They responded maturely and had a civil conversation about how to proceed. B. Offered a slightly better deal to comedians and apologized. Or C. Removed several comedians' albums on Spotify and essentially yeeted them off the platform. If you picked option C, congratulations, bingo. Overnight, suddenly, all of the comedians' albums that were named were simply removed from Spotify. Just overnight, snapped, vanished into thin air, like a furry's dad that left for cigarettes and milk. Just gone. Fights between Spotify and others have been occurring behind the scenes for a while, especially between artists, comedians, and podcast hosts. Even recently, there are articles about how Spotify is screwing XYZ, some random guy down the street over. You can find several examples of this if you just try to Google any kind of controversy involving Spotify and an artist, or either anyone at this point. It's just fucking anyone. How about we talk about the Spotify CEO's investments that I mentioned before? I did maybe kind of mention the small thing, such as military AI. For purposes of war, of course, as you do as a music company, as a CEO of a music company. And also, Spotify also letting AI run rampant on its platform, creating soft music to fill the libraries with just hundreds upon hundreds of tracks of just trash. It's not a joke or some dystopian fan fiction that someone in the basement wrote. It's actually the Spotify CEO, Daniel Ek, back in about 2021, invested around $113 million in Helsing AI. Not his company or artists or anything that would assist the people who are scrapping for leftovers on Spotify, like a survival game, like they're playing Pathologic trying to just survive. But instead, an AI that exclaims to be created for democracy. And no, this is not a Helldivers 2 reference. Their genuine punchline is that Helsing AI is an AI for democracy. I can't make this shit up. The funny thing about Helsing AI is its supposed main use would be to, quote-unquote, integrate data from infrared, video, sonar, and radio frequencies gleaned from sensors on military vehicles to create a real-time picture on battlefields. So, this is AI for the purposes of war. We're so close. We're just keep going. We're so close to having Skynet. We are so close to some kind of apocalyptic dystopian world. Just a little bit more. We're almost there. You can do it. I believe. I should also point out that Daniel Ek has had other weird how do I put this? Weird investments, supposedly. But there is not enough information out there for me to confidently mention them in this video. But you should look up some other investments he's allegedly recently made. If you're curious, they're a bit peculiar. I did mention the AI running rampant on Spotify before, didn't I? And it very much is. For whatever godforsaken reason, Spotify has and I do mean recently, been under fire for allowing AI artists to fill the platform with AI slop music. As long as no copyright content is used, they can just go wild. So there's just a lot of playlists and music that just have really weird icons, like almost default icons, and they just have so many tracks, so many different supposed songs that almost all sound the same because it's all generated by AI with some differences. And I don't even know. This is sounding like so, why? It's and believe it or not, this is not the end of Spotify's AI adventures. As recent as 2024, they introduced the AI playlists and are supposedly working on other AI tools for Spotify premium users. It's honestly, it's up to you to decide how you feel about it, but it is clear that Daniel Ek and Spotify are very much integrating AI into the platform as much as possible and taking steps further into AI technology. Lastly, let's talk about Spotify's, let's say, evil patents. Not sure what else to call it. They're genuinely dystopian patents straight out of some kind of cyberpunk story, some dystopian hellhole. Spotify has filed several patents over its long existence, but one of the ones that has caught the attention of a lot of people, especially recently, was a patent to identify taste attributes from an audio signal. Now, if that sounds annoyingly complicated, essentially, Spotify will be able to listen into you through your device and be able to figure out your emotional state based on the tone of your voice. What wonderful! I love it. Genuinely great, awesome. That's just what I needed. And by the way, this is for advertising purposes. Of course, for what else? The list of patents is relatively significant. There's quite a few that are questionable. This one just stands out quite a bit. So, either Spotify is going to crumble in the upcoming years due to all of the issues going on behind the scenes and publicly, or Spotify will slowly become the new megacorp that runs the upcoming cyberpunk world, and we will all eventually be slaves to our Spotify overlords. All hail Spotify. With that being said and done, the video is roughly over. I don't have much else to add here. This is the most interesting things I found out about Spotify. There's a lot more. If you're interested, maybe I'll do a follow-up video going over all of the smaller things, but these are the ones that I've seen people talk about the most and have come across several articles talking about. And I think these are these things that I mentioned here specifically are the most interesting, egregious, and questionable things involving Spotify in recent years. So that's why they're here, and that's why I'm here talking about it. That's it. If you liked it, leave a like. If you hated it, then I don't know, go do something else or watch something else. All links, everything as per usual, will be in the description. And that's that. I'm out.